Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today, I have a very special guest with me, the one and only Ashanti. Ashanti is here to open up about her pregnancy and labor experience after welcoming her first child with her longtime partner, Nelly. This is an incredibly personal and vulnerable story, and I'm so grateful that Ashanti is willing to share it with us today. Ashanti, thank you so much for being here. I can't imagine how exciting but also challenging this whole journey must have been for you. I'm sure a lot of our viewers are curious to hear more. So why don't you start by telling us a bit about how you and Nelly found out you were expecting? Well, it was honestly the biggest surprise of our lives. Nelly and I had been together for years, but we had always been so focused on our careers that starting a family just wasn't on our radar. So when I started feeling a little off one day, the last thing I expected was to be pregnant. I remember taking the test and just staring at it in shock. I didn't even know what to say to Nelly at first. I was excited, of course, but also terrified. We hadn't planned for this at all. Nelly was over the moon, but I'll admit I had a lot of mixed emotions. The first few months of the pregnancy were a real roller coaster. My body was changing so rapidly, and I was dealing with all kinds of new aches, pains, and mood swings. There were days when I felt absolutely beautiful and glowing, and then other days where I just felt huge and uncomfortable. And don't even get me started on the cravings. I'm pretty sure I single-handedly kept the pickles industry in business during that time. But through it all, Nelly was an absolute rock. He was so attentive and loving, always making sure I was taken care of. He'd rub my feet, bring me whatever I was craving, and just generally do everything he could to make me feel supported. Having him by my side made all the difference. Then, finally, the big day arrived. I'll never forget how nervous I was leading up to the delivery. All the birthing classes in the world couldn't have prepared me for what that experience was actually going to be like. When my water broke, I swear my heart was beating out of my chest. Nelly was amazing, staying calm and focused, but I was a complete mess. The contractions started coming on strong, and the pain was unlike anything I'd ever felt before. I kept thinking, how do women do this? The hours of labor felt like an eternity. I tried every pain management technique they taught us, but nothing really seemed to work. I remember at one point just begging the nurses to knock me out. I was in so much agony. Nelly kept encouraging me, reminding me that I was doing great, and that our baby would be here soon. It ended up being a few hours before we were finally able to see the baby. Those were the longest, most agonizing hours of my life. When we were finally allowed in the NICU, I was just overwhelmed with emotion. My baby was hooked up to all these machines, struggling to breathe. The doctors assured us that they were doing everything they could, but it was still terrifying. Thankfully, after a few days of intensive care, our little one started to improve. The doctors said it was just a minor respiratory issue that they were able to get under control. But even once the baby was out of the woods, I still had my own recovery to worry about. The actual birth had been so traumatic, both physically and emotionally. I was in pain, I was exhausted, and I was dealing with a lot of postpartum hormones. There were times where I just felt completely overwhelmed and didn't know how I was going to get through it. But again, Nelly was my saving grace. He stepped up in a major way, taking care of the baby, helping me with household tasks, and making sure I was resting and healing. I don't know what I would have done without him. He was my rock every single day. Looking back now, I realize just how unprepared I was for everything that comes with pregnancy and childbirth. Nobody can really prepare you for how intense and life-changing it is. There were so many moments where I felt scared, uncertain, and even resentful of the whole process. But I also learned a lot about myself and my relationship with Nelly. I saw a whole new side to him that I hadn't experienced before. His patience, his nurturing spirit, his unwavering support. It made me fall in love with him all over again. And of course, holding our baby for the first time was the most incredible, indescribable feeling. All of the pain, the worry, the exhaustion, it was all worth it. That little face, those tiny fingers and toes, the sound of their heartbeat. It was magic. In that moment, I knew that my life would never be the same. So if there's one thing I want expectant parents to take away from my story, it's this: be prepared for the unexpected. Pregnancy and childbirth are full of surprises, both wonderful and terrifying. But as long as you have a strong support system and the right mindset, you can get through anything. It's okay to feel scared, to feel overwhelmed, to feel like you have no idea what you're doing. That's normal. The most important thing is to be kind to yourself, to lean on your loved ones, and to trust the process. Because on the other side of all that chaos and uncertainty, the reward is so worth it. Thank you all so much for listening to my story today. I hope it resonates with some of you, and that it helps prepare you, even just a little bit, for your own incredible journeys into parenthood. Stay tuned for more videos coming soon. Bye for now.